He had the shot. The enemy was right there, standing still, completely exposed. His finger was on the trigger. And then he lowered his rifle. What happened in those 10 seconds would haunt him for the rest of his life. France, summer of 1944. The Allied invasion had shattered the German front line. Soldiers on both sides were exhausted, terrified, and often separated from their units. In the chaos of war, the rules were simple: shoot or be shot. But one German corporal, deep in the Normandy countryside, was about to break that rule completely. His name was Josef Schultz, 23 years old, from a small town of Bavaria. He had never asked to fight, he had never asked to be here, but in 1943, the Wehrmacht came knocking, and like millions of others, he had no choice. By June 1944, Josef had survived 2 years on the Eastern Front, something that alone made him an exception. He had seen things no human being should ever see. He had done things he would never speak of again. But this morning was different. His unit had split during the night, artillery fire, confusion, and when dawn broke, Josef found himself alone in the ruins of a bombed farmhouse, and he wasn't alone for long. Through a broken window, he spotted movement.
An American soldier, probably 18 or 19 years old, wounded in the leg, dragging himself across an open field, completely exposed, completely unaware that German eyes were watching him. Josef raised his rifle. Standard procedure: enemy combatant, open target, one shot, and it was over. But then the American stopped moving. He sat up, just slightly, and Josef could see his face for the first time. The boy was crying, not out of fear. He was clutching something, a photograph. And even from that distance, even through a cracked and dirty window pane, Josef could make out what it was. A woman, a child, maybe a wife, maybe a mother, maybe a sister. Josef kept the rifle raised. 5 seconds passed. He thought of his own mother. He thought of a photograph he carried in his own breast pocket, one he had looked at every single night since leaving Bavaria. His younger sister, 8 years old when he left. She had made him promise to come home. The American boy, this enemy, this target, was somebody's promise too. 10 seconds. Josef lowered the rifle. He didn't know why. He couldn't explain it. There was no logic in it, no strategy, no military reason. In fact, by every rule of war he had been trained to follow, it was wrong. But he lowered it anyway. He stayed hidden for another hour, watching the American slowly, painfully crawl to the edge of the tree line and disappear into the woods. Josef never fired a single shot that morning, and when he finally rejoined his unit 3 days later, dusty, hungry, and silent, nobody asked what had happened in that farmhouse. He never told them. For 30 years, he never told anyone. In 1974, a journalist in Munich was collecting oral histories from German veterans. Most refused to talk. Josef agreed on one condition, that his story not be published until after his death. He spoke for 4 hours. He described the Eastern Front, the things he witnessed, the orders he followed that he wished he hadn't. And then, almost at the end, he described that morning in Normandy, the farmhouse, the window, the boy with the photograph. "I don't know if what I did was brave," he said. "I don't know if it was right. I only know that I looked at that boy and I saw my sister looking back at me." He paused. That was enough. Josef Schultz died in 1987. The journalist published the story in 1989.
The American soldier was never identified. We don't know if he survived the war. We don't know if he ever made it back to the woman in that photograph. But somewhere in the Normandy countryside, on an ordinary summer morning in 1944, a young man chose not to pull a trigger, and in 10 seconds of silence, he chose to remain human. That choice cost him nothing, but it may have given another man everything. History remembers the battles, but it forgets the moments between them. This channel exists for those moments. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you want more stories like this, the ones history forgot to tell, subscribe. There are hundreds more waiting.